Everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here. Bitfarms, just to go through this real quick here. Let's pull up the monthly chart. You see that it's been kind of going sideways. Not really a lot of things have happened over the last few months. If you look at what the whales are doing, though, you pull up what the whales are doing. There was a big giant buy signal from this big volume buy candle over here. And since then, there's been inflow of whales. Price just went sideways. A little bit of divergence there, isn't it? As the price went sideways, volume also went sideways. This is a pure, consolidation here. The price went sideways with big whale buying over the last few months. Huge inflow. It makes you wonder where price is going to go after that. It also just very similar to Mara. It looks kind of like a little bit of bull flag over here. It's also been consolidating right around this range between the top volume shelf right here around $3.50 to $4, somewhere around there, all the way down to this other volume shelf down here around like 2.5, all the way down to maybe like 2.2 or something like that. It's been kind of bouncing between these two volume shelves up here. And it's been eating a lot of supply of this, volume shelf above over the last few months, and also I guess trying to find support down here too. It doesn't look as strong as Mara. It doesn't really have that nice, ascending triangle look that I was showing you, but still look relatively like a bull flag, with a pole right up here with increased whale presence, with price just kind of going sideways during a little bit of consolidation, maybe even a little bit of a downturn here with decreased volume. These are all good signs. So that's what Bitfarm's doing in terms of the monthly. I'm going to pull up a couple other indicators here to show you real quick. Bollinger Bands. Bollinger Bands still expanding, although it's kind of been a little bit slow in terms of expansion. Not as good as Mara, but it's still expanding. Price is still spending majority of the time on the upper part of the Bollinger Band, and the 20-month moving average is still pointing up. So this is still a beginning of a potentially relatively longer-term bull trend here. I think that with the Bollinger Band having some expansion, the 20-month moving average pointing up, and also with price staying a significant amount of time kind of hugging the upper Bollinger Band here, all these are still very much suggesting that this is a bull trend that's going to develop continuously for a period of time. There could be some acceleration going on that could happen, relatively soon. And that's also supported by whale buying volume. The data from fintel.io that tells you institutional buying, it was also very, very strong from January to February. It does have a little bit of a bearish engulfing look to it, doesn't it? That was a little bit of a disappointment of mine. I was hoping that it would not do that, but it does have a little bit of a bearish engulfing look to it, so I would not be surprised if we end up spending another month of consolidation, or maybe even down here a little bit, to even maybe the $2 level. That would not surprise me at all. But even if that's the case, I suspect that's going to be potentially on a lower volume. And who knows, if IWM, if the Russell 2000 breaks out, I have a feeling that it could potentially neglect this bearish engulfing candle here. And in addition, with the bearish engulfing candle, I'm generally not too convinced if the previous candle is kind of a big giant wick above. I don't know if I necessarily buy this bearish engulfing candle, but you have to take it into consideration because it is still a valid bearish engulfing candle here. Just like over here is a valid bullish engulfing candle. Here's a valid bullish engulfing candle. But price doesn't have to, go significantly that bullish after something like this. You can just keep going sideways before picking a trend, right? Just like here, it could go sideways a little bit here before picking a trend. But the overall trend is still bullish because of the monthly moving average, because of the price is hugging up a Bollinger Band and is on the upper part of the Bollinger Band here, is still considered to be bullish. Now, the other thing I was looking at too, again, I was hoping initially that price would close above some of these indicators over here. For Bitfarms, you still don't have the Tenkan here flipping the Kijun here yet. I think next month is probably going to end up happening. Depends on where the candle is. Maybe it's a little bit lower. It might postpone that for another month or two. There is a potential that Bitfarms could lag behind. I mean, it's not showing us the confirmation of the bullish cross. It's not flipping the Tenkan and Kijun into support like Mara is doing, even though down here it looks like it was going to do that. Flipped it from resistance over here with the Tenkan to support, tried to use it as support, failed, trying to use that resistance, failed, end up bouncing up, support, support, didn't find support here. A little bit of weakening of the trend, but that's okay. I think that there's going to be a bullish Tenkan Kijun cross probably over the next month or two. If not next month, maybe a month after that. And then once you're able to flip the Tenkan convincingly back into support and the Kijun cross is underneath of it, I think you're talking about hitting the top of the cloud of here around, like the high 4s to 5 relatively quickly if that ends up happening towards the second half of the year. And once it does that, you probably have to battle some of the volume shells going on up here, and the Ichimoku cloud's also kind of around here too. So it's probably going to end up battling some of the stuff up here, maybe towards the end of the year. And if it breaks through, then you're talking about maybe another small volume shelf up here, but then price could potentially be going up a lot higher after that. You do have a lot of these kind of resistance over here. The resistance really start around here with all these wicks down here. You all have all these wicks up here too, so it's not surprising that price has spent a significant amount of time, maybe longer than some people would expect, even though Bitcoin's been going up. It's a stock. It has supply and demand dynamics, and right now it's trying to eat above of it, and it's trying, but it's just not quite getting there yet. There might needs to have another month or so of consolidation right around this range before truly breaking out. But so far, if you look at the weekly here, so far, even though it was like, I don't know, but so far you are still seeing, what are you seeing? A higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, bounce from the Ichimoku cloud. Here, the Ichimoku cloud on the weekly was the resistance. Break through the Ichimoku cloud, form a higher high, higher low, higher high so far. A little bit of a fork kind of higher low here. Now, ideally, I would also like the price. It would have been nice if price last week was kind of getting above the Kijun, showing a little bit of a, beginning of like a bullish development here to kind of climb up. It didn't quite do that. So this is lagging behind Mara. I think there is a potential for it to go down a little bit more. As long as price doesn't go down below 1.9, which is this wick right here, it could still be potentially forming a little bit of a higher low before going up. But it is a little bit weaker. I am seeing that the selling pressure is kind of dying down a lot as the price kind of went down trend here. So overall, this whole thing just seems like consolidation because the volume overall seems to be decreasing over time. It does seem a little bit of a reaccumulation here too. And if I just turn off the Ichimoku cloud here and just kind of pull up, let's pull up RSI and kind of see what it's doing, right? You can see that as price has been kind of forming a little bit of a higher high here. The RSI has been downtrending, so you're seeing a little bit of a hidden bullish divergence over here. There's some bullish momentum that's building that could potentially push up a lot higher, but it may not happen for another few weeks or so, and I don't know. This over here, I would not be surprised if it ends up negating the monthly bearish engulfing candle and then just go up from here. I would not be surprised by that because there is some hidden bullish diversion that's being built up here. Now you can see that there was also some bearish diversions that happened over here and here. I think that's already played out. Like this downlink right here has already played this bearish divergence out here, and RSI has already been reset. Right now RSI is getting close to about 50. It could break a little bit below that, but again, you're on like a pretty nice hidden bullish divergence here. So I think you're starting to build up some bullish momentum to try and push price up higher, is what I'm seeing here. Now, in addition to the RSI, let me pull up the unbalanced volume here to see whether or not there's any bullish divergence here. Then there is. Price has gone up a little bit. The volume went down. So this is a pretty classic hidden bullish divergence here, not just on RSI but also on the unbalanced volume here too, which is also a very good indicators to basically say, yeah, I think there's a little bit of an increase in bullish momentum that's being built up here. Let's see what happens. Now, let's look at what it does in terms of the moving averages. Ideally, I would like to see price get back above a rising 20, and it didn't. It kind of used that a little bit as a resistance. You got rejected the last couple of weeks, didn't it? That's okay. Volume isn't that great. I think that the 20 is still pointing up, and I was also hoping that price would also close within the bull market support band, and it didn't end up doing that. It just wicked into it, trying to break back above the bull market support band, but was not really able to do that. But that's okay. I mean, like, it doesn't always have to work out perfect. Sometimes price just has to kind of consolidate under the bull market support band here for a few weeks or longer, sometimes a couple months before breaking out. Right? What is important is you are also having a lot of supports that are kind of raising up. The 100 week moving average is starting to flatten. The 50 is pointing up and slowly rising, and 20 is about 50, about 100. This is still a weekly bull trend, and price has just kind of been consolidating. And you're also seeing a lot of these kind of bullish, hidden bullish diversions. They're saying that there is some bullish momentum that they're happening. So another thing that gets me hopeful is that the 20 week moving average is still pointing up. So it's probably not going to serve as very strong resistance. Whenever price kind of bounce back above, I think it's probably going to be able to break back above and flip it back into support and go up higher. Again, there's no guarantee, but this is kind of what I'm seeing here with Bitfarms. Now, I'm done with looking at Bitfarms here. I also wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about another stock that a lot of you are interested in, RIOT blockchain. And if I just flip to the monthly here, you can see that it's not as powerful even compared to Bitfarms, although this month did not close with the bearish engulfing. This month actually, is able to close not so much of an inside candle, but it's actually able to close a little bit higher than it would have, I guess, compared to what it would have done. Right now, it's forming a little bit of a symmetrical, wedge kind of thing. And technically, you don't really know which way it's going to go with these kinds of things. And the wedge can still go on for a little longer. But I'm not sure whether or not that has to be the case. Because, again, all it boils down to is what is IWM going to do? Russell 2000, what is that going to do? We don't know. If IWM ends up having a breakout, I think it could potentially drag RIOT together with Bitfarms together with Mara. Even with Clean Spark, I think it's going to end up being dragged back above with the bullish momentum that is strongly building in IWM or small cap stocks with Russell 2000. So these miners are all small cap stocks, so I think they're probably going to end up following. But so far I'm seeing kind of like a little bit of indecision. But if you use that as like a flag and you use that as a pull, then the continuation, once it breaks above this black over here, is going to be a bullish continuation. It's going to keep going up. If you look at the volume shells over here, you can see that price has just kind of been bouncing, kind of like Bitfarms been bouncing between the higher level of the volume shelf up here and also the lower level of the volume shelf down here has just kind of been bouncing up and down and consolidated between these two volume shelves. Once it breaks about this volume shelf which is going to be, if it breaks about 20 or so, I think you're talking about it hitting some of the higher levels here. But this is also lagging behind the other Bitcoin miners because you also see there's a lot of price being, a lot of stuff being traded hands up here too, around the 30s. So you're going to have having a volume shelf over here that it might potentially spend some time trying to break above here as well. But overall, I do feel more bullish on RIOT rather than bearish. I just want to see it kind of break above the symmetrical wedge right here. The other indicators to pull up, if you look at the Ichimoku Cloud, it did have a bullish cross. There are some more bullish development here compared to Bitfarms here. There is a bullish cross that had happened last month, and even though price was close below both the Tenkan and the Kijun line last month, currently you actually have price tested the Kijun, and it's still serving as resistance, but it's working on it. I think it's going to end up potentially over the next month or two to flip the Tenkan and the Kijun back into support. And when it does that, and when it's able to break above this 20 shelf over here, I think the next area is going to go up to is going to be the cloud, which you're talking about the clouds being around here with a bunch of resistance up here at the volume shelf here as well. So you can potentially talk about like the lower 20s. If it breaks into the cloud, you can hit the upper 30s and can end up bouncing around the cloud, maybe working out some of the technicals over here because there's a lot of price history at this level before going up, and talking about, more about price exploration, but that could really seriously lag behind because we've spent a significant amount of time over here bouncing between these volume shelves and trying to get above this level right around here. So we'll see what happens. I think it is going to still be a bullish thing. I think this might end up being a little bit more of a late cycle boomer. But so far it is still looking good, but it's just not as impulsive as, Mara. Definitely not nearly anywhere as impulsive as CleanSpark. Again, pulling up the Bollinger Bands here. Price spent a significant amount of time on the upper part of Bollinger Band, building up a lot of energy. So there's potential once it breaks out, it can go up pretty high. And also see 20-month moving average very, very nicely crawling up. Matter of fact, it also kind of served as like a back test here, used as support, and is able to kind of get a little bit closer to it. Didn't quite test it, but is crawling up, and so far is pointing up to more of like a very, very strong monthly bull trend that could potentially be building up here. The Bollinger Band is not expanding quite just yet, so that's why I'm saying I think this is going to be a laggard. It needs to challenge upper Bollinger Band more to allow the expansion of the Bollinger Band before prices go higher. It hasn't really quite done yet, so I think this might potentially lag behind the other miners by at least a couple months. But sometimes all it takes is just one big giant candle green to kind of push price above. There's not really any reason to believe that it's going to break down below because the 20-month moving average is pointing up, signifying a trend change, and because it's still on the upper part of the Bollinger Band, so there's no reason to think that it's going to break below until it does. But that's kind of what I'm seeing here with RIOT on the monthly. If you look at the banker flow, you also see there's an increase in banker flow. It's not as nicely uptrend as Mara or CleanSpark. Even Bitfarm has a stronger inflow trend than RIOT. But these things can change any second. Like sometimes it just takes you maybe like one giant candle of inflow for you to really flip the script. And you can see like price kind of going sideways over here for a lot longer, right? Price also kind of went sideways over here for a lot longer. You have these kind of inflow when price went sideways. You have kind of these inflow up here when price went sideways. So there's a lot of energy that can be building up, and you can potentially hit up to like the 30s and 40 in a hurry potentially. But we're not seeing that yet. Price is consolidating over the last 3 months per volume, but again, the increase, inflow, it does make you think. It does make you wonder what's going to happen next. Looking at the weekly quickly. The weekly, if you look at the Ichimoku cloud, you can see that price has broken back inside the Ichimoku cloud this week. That's a bullish development, but honestly, it's just been oscillating between the two. I'm not sure if the Ichimoku cloud is going to be, like that strong an indicator because it's just break above, break below, break above, break below. It's not really showing you too much here. Tengen did cross about the Kijun, so you did have a little bit of a bullish cross over here. There's the potential that, it just kind of slides through the cloud and slides through these Tengen and Kijun lines over here, because it's been oscillating for a long time. Once this picks a trend, which I still think that is probably going to be a bullish trend. Another thing that tells me why I think it's a bullish trend is over the last month or so, price had went down like that. Volume also plummeted. I think the seller have been exhausted. Buying volume has gone up. Selling volume, when it sells, it goes down. Buying volume goes up. Selling volume goes down. This really looks like a consolidation, like a reaccumulation type pattern. And I think once price breaks, I think it's going to break to the upside most likely. And it's probably going to slice through these kinds of things like Swiss cheese on a weekly chart, to be honest. I think I'm more thinking about like the volume shelf and also the monthly resistance. But so far, it does look a little bit more like reaccumulation. The other thing I want to show you is what's the trend doing. The trend is still a bull trend. 20 moving weekly is about 50. It is above 100. 100 is crawling around, is flattening. This is still a bull trend. Now 20 and 50 is also flattening, granted, and 50 is serving a little bit as like a resistance over here. But so far, this is still a bull trend, and I'm going to have to give the bull trend benefit of a doubt here. That's going to continue as bull trend, going to keep going up. We'll see what happens. I think I personally don't have a position in RIOT, but a lot of you do. I just want to share with you what I'm seeing here. And so far, I'm seeing that it's building up some bullish technicals. It is a laggard, but it's still building up some bullish technicals. And I think that once the symmetric wedge breaks above, assuming that that's the direction that's going to go, and so far everything's kind of pointing towards that direction is going to be the correct direction, then it could potentially go up to like in 30s and potentially down up to like 40 in a hurry. And you have a lot of these kind of price history up here to battle too. But we'll see how impulsive it gets once the bull market gets started. Sometimes things get so irrational that it just keep going a lot higher than everybody would expect. But that hasn't been the case yet for RIOT. It's completely understandable if you want to keep your skepticism. We'll see what happens though. I'm Cantonese Cat. Thank you for listening. Have a good one. Bye.